Morning, it's a pleasure to be here, standing before you to say a few words on World Diabetes Day. Uh, World Diabetes Day was introduced in the year 1991 by the International Diabetes Foundation and the World Health Organization, and today it is an official United Nations Day. It was actually set up in response to the rise of diabetes around the world on the day marking the birthday of Frederick Banting, who along with Charles Best first conceived the idea which led to the discovery of insulin in the year 1922. Actually, it has taken 69 long years after the discovery of insulin to recognize diabetes as a major problem. Maybe people thought that diabetes means sweet people, or quite oblivious of its implications. And once the implications started showing up, they said we must take control of this now. I wish this control had been exercised 69 years ago before that. India is already one of the leading countries bearing a significant global burden of non-communicable diseases. Apart from 62 million diabetics that already exist, there are more than 77 million people who are currently in the pre-diabetic stage or are not diagnosed with the disease. So we are having a serious problem on our hands. Periodically, we see some new research that is being published in the lay press about potential breakthroughs in this area. This only says that the medical fraternity is constantly looking for controlling blood sugar, modifying the sequelae, trying very hard to make everyone's life better. In today's paper, there is an article mentioning that if you do gamma GT tests, it will help predict persons at risk for diabetes, and it costs only 50 rupees. Only time will tell whether this is a good test or not. Obesity and unhealthy lifestyles are clearly on the increase in our country. We see this trend in our own institution when we look at the weight of pregnant women who come in the last 10 years. The average increase in the weight is 10 kilos. So that means we are having a problem here. We see this trend in pregnant women who come for care, and gestational diabetes is another increasing concern. Pre-diabetes and gestational diabetes are two situations where a huge opportunity for lifestyle modification and indeed prevention of type 2 diabetes is setting in. This will ensure, if by doing effective care, this will ensure that reduction in perinatal morbidity and mortality. It's also a problem in India. Reports say that about 70,000 Indian children under the age of 15 suffer from type 1 diabetes. Here again, healthy eating with a diet rich in fruits, vegetables and whole grains, while limiting fast food and physical exercise for about 40 to 60 minutes a day are things that need to become part of the day-to-day living to manage the condition. The child must run and come to get whatever it wants. It cannot be carried. It is indeed heartening to note that public awareness is increasing. Many public walks are arranged, and indeed the number of marathons that are being organized around the country are on the rise. Every day we see marathon being told about, and hundreds of people are participating, which is a very healthy trend. Research in diabetes actually should focus on identifying those at risk. We must try to get it before it happens and ensure either prevention or at least postponement of the onset of the disease. If it's not able to prevent it, what cannot be cured must be endured, but you can endure it with less amount of strain, less amount of complications. Once diabetes sets in, a whole new healthcare delivery plan needs to be evolved around these individuals. However, time and again we have seen that in medicine, one solution may not fit all. You can't give one tablet and say if you have a disease, the same tablet does not work the same way for different people. And we are moving towards an area of personalized medicine, which takes into consideration understanding the individual's genetic composition and fine-tuning the treatment which is ideally suited to that individual. The goals, of course, will be minimal intervention, reduced side effects of drugs, and of course a word of caution in research though. Time and again we have seen that what seems right today to do can be proved as actually wrong or could have been done better by some later research. But this is the inevitable fallout of constant quest of the human mind to explore new areas, have new understanding about diseases. The goal is to identify truths that will stand the test of time. Interestingly, in research, what we call as the null hypothesis, we start with a negative question. When a new drug or test is validated, the question we begin with is, this test is not good or this test is not useful for the disease. And then we go on to prove that we had a wrong assumption. It is our responsibility, therefore, in the true interest of the patient, to play the devil's advocate and constantly question ourselves. Are we doing the right thing? Can we stand up to scrutiny? If the answer is yes, then we have a winner on our hands. This is a condition that cannot be prevented, but can be managed and controlled very well. Today, we are all waiting to hear the breakthrough research in diabetes which is about to be announced. I am able to see that the entire unit is fully charged, energized and excited about it. My sincere wish is that this will bring a smile on many a diabetic. The Department of Diabetes, under the able leadership of Professor C.V. Krishnaswamy, has been providing yeoman service to this community since the last 48 years. And VHS is indeed proud of their achievements. The large number of juvenile diabetics getting comprehensive free care is actually unparalleled. Free insulin and care for life is a boon to these families to help them balance their budget. I'm sure many of them who have been beneficiaries will become stalwarts in their own fields, and when they look back at VHS, they will say with tears of joy that this is the institution that helped me stand where I am today, and they will willingly come forward to help us to do more. While research goes on in TAG Diabetes VHS Center, the baton of the diabetes department has now been passed to the next generation. Dr. Ramesh Chandrasekharan, I request that you will set yourself tough goals and the team to reach out to the community, to make them smile and bring more glory to this wonderful institution, which I call as Namma VHS. A dedicated team needs support. We are thankful to the donors who have steadfastly stood by the department and made this possible. Today, several of them were present here. Any amount of thanks, I think, will not be enough, because they indeed are the people who are ensuring that the professionals can do their job without looking at anything else except looking at care and making the patient smile. My earnest appeal to them to continue to handhold us in this new journey towards finding a solution for this problem. My heartiest congratulations to the TAG VHS team in their quest for breakthrough areas in research, and I wish them many, many more laurels and many more successes to come. Thank you very much.
Dr. Hegde, honoring Professor Suresh. Sorry, Professor Hegde, I request you to once more rise, give a talk. Call for national.
Sugal Chandi, Dr. Suresh, my elder brother, CVK, Prema, all our benevolent, large-hearted, not in the physical sense but in the metaphoric sense, donors, friends of VHS, eminent scientists like P.C. Keshavan, ladies and gentlemen, and our teachers, our students, the young kids who teach us about diabetes. I call them the teachers, and who have sustained here. And I think this is the largest unit of childhood diabetes centers keeping children alive without their spending any money, unlike in the West. And I'm very proud to tell you that some of them got even married, which was unheard of in our days when we were students. The juvenile diabetes doesn't live up to the marriageable age. Now we have had a lot of talks this morning on various aspects, but my talk is not going to be on diabetes or any disease for that matter. What should the policy of the government of India be in the future? Because if we go the way we are going at the moment, you will be surprised. America has failed in giving comprehensive Western medical care to their population. The NHS is almost broke. Actually, they want a huge amount of money if NHS has to sustain in the next 10 years, which they don't have. The French government has failed because today we have heightened the aspirations of the patients. We have told them that we doctors can do anything. We can give you a transplant and keep you alive here. As a matter of fact, they think the human body is like a motor car. With each organ, when it becomes old, it can be replaced, carburetor, and you make the 1938 model a new one. Unfortunately, human body is not consisting of organs at all. The whole science of Western medicine, what is called, now it's rightly called the pseudoscience. As a matter of fact, you'll be surprised. I have been invited next month to go to a very prestigious medical college in India to talk to them on the pseudoscience of Western medicine. Now, I'll give you an inkling into that afterwards, but I'll tell you, for a country like India, where we have the 5-star top hospitals claiming, at least in the newspapers, to do the best that they can and the best under the sun. At the same time, we have places like, you see in Jharkhand what happened the other day. People are dying of simple mastectomy or the tubectomy operations. And we have now reports saying that the drug that they got, manufactured in India by a company, is laced with rat poison. That must have killed those women, because surgery doesn't kill so many women at a stretch. It's impossible. But that poor doctor who has done 100,000 tubectomies, 100,000 tubectomies. I don't think any other doctor anywhere in the world has done that. He's in jail now because he's a scapegoat. So this happens in our country, and it happens everywhere in the world. And now we talk about research, peer-reviewed journals, the Western journals, the top journals, and what have you. But P.C. Keshavan is here, one of the top scientists of this country, and he'll bear with me that these are all controlled again by the money bags. The moneyed people, the powerful people, the Western industries, they control these journals. They plant their people in there, and whatever research is not, which is not conducive to their business, is either retracted or rejected. And what is good for them, even if it's wrong, is published. You would be surprised if I told you that AIDS and HIV virus is a big business. The NHS research grant for AIDS is $8 billion. For cancer, it is $2 billion. There was a time when they wanted to find out a cure for AIDS, because it is a white man who was dying. Yesterday, the WHO's chief herself came out and said, Ebola is eating up this world because the West has failed. And she said it is because they thought only the Africans are dying. So we couldn't care less. And let us try and see if this Ebola virus can be used for fighting wars in the future. But today, it has come to their doorstep. So they are now waking up. And who is saying this? The WHO chief, who 4 years ago was in league with these companies to declare swine flu as a pandemic, when it was not. Because another company wanted to sell their drugs. 2 years later, it was all exposed. And the British Medical Journal wrote an editorial. The WHO was found in bed with the pharma companies in the swine flu saga. Can you believe this? So how much to believe the Western science? Now we say, see, whatever we do here, it's called, oh, it's not good science. No, it can't be, it can't stand to scrutiny. What is scrutiny? And what is science? What is the definition of science? You want to know what science is? I'll give a Western book, not an Indian book. Please go and read. It's written for a common man, layman, not doctors. The book is called The Golem. The Golem, Golem. You know what golem is? Golem is a Jewish Hebrew word. Golem simply means in the Drishtik Vikranga. What do you call that? Scarecrow. Actually, Malayalam also it's called Golem. Any Malayalis here? And Malayalam and so there's same word, the golem. And who writes this? Two professors of physics in the Washington University, Harry Collins and Trevor Pinch. And the book says the Western science is designed to keep the third world countries under a scare, to say that anything science that comes from the West is gospel truth, and anything that does not come from them is not truth. This was the idea. This is how it all came. In my concept, science simply is curiosity. Curiosity. The best scientist is a child. You buy the costliest toy for the child will look at it for 3 days and keep it back very safely. Third day it will start licking it to see if it has got any taste. Fourth day it will smell it. And the fifth day it will break it. That is science. All the features of a scientist, all the things that a scientist must have, the power of observation, using all the 5 senses, and with the 5 senses come to a conclusion. Peter Medawar, a Nobel laureate scientist who found out how to transplant organs from one to the other, for the first time probably, how to say the cells, how they match. He wrote a book called Limits of Science when he was old, and the book says the science is an establishment designed to answer only certain questions, not all questions. They can't answer all questions. Science is like a railway engine put on a track. Now we can't ask it to fly like a plane. So don't say science is inadequate, because it's not designed like that. And Charles Sherrington, another very famous Nobel laureate scientist, says positive sciences can never answer the question why. They can at best answer how or how much, but not why. Ratio re is therefore not reason why. You can't ask the question. Einstein in his old days said, all that we know we call as science, and all that we don't know is God. So that is how science stands. What we need for the future is a simple, affordable health care for the masses in India, which is uniform. Because today we have the largest poverty load in this country, and we have the largest load of malnourished children suffering from a disease called nutritional immune deficiency syndrome, which I name as NIDS, N-I-D-S. And NIDS is much more dangerous than AIDS. As a matter of fact, AIDS is not a disease at all. The biggest